U.S. election matters and will shape the international landscape. I don't know. I mean, I guess for some people, and just when you look at some of the things that we'll cover in a couple minutes, I don't really know how much in the grander scheme. I mean, the world is moving away from the dollar. The U.S. dollar and the U.S. government are bankrupt entities. Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. On election night here in the United States, I'm watching this show. Well, I'm not going to really be watching the show per se, but I'll be following along from Austin, Texas, where I've landed in recent days and having a lot of fun here, following the silver world especially. Will be interesting to see what happens to the price of gold and silver following the election. Things have been a little bit quiet so far this week, a little bit of a rally, and I guess we'll see if there's any fireworks in store for tonight by the time you are watching this. A little earlier than normal, you may have noticed today. You know, people are going to want to watch the election and coverage, so at least here is, I don't even know how much of that I'll be previewing. There's, what do I know about who's going to be elected? Although I guess what I could say, and to clarify my headline title, where, it's like on one hand, I'm not trying to be like disrespectful to the country or some of the ideals that started the country, but to the degree that I don't know, I don't feel comfortable with either of the two candidates put out there. I feel they're both representative, and I don't know exactly what they have or haven't done, but at least I'm sharing my opinion, representative of a system that has two parties where neither one is trying to help either of us. I mean, they parrot these guys out like Bernanke and other politicians, and I don't think it's a bunch of confused guys fumbling the football all over the field. At least my research has led me to believe that a lot of this is just broad day bank robbery, which I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but I guess I can only be honest as long as they're here on YouTube. Real quick before we start tonight, video is sponsored by Miles Franklin, where although you can buy gold and silver or platinum or palladium there, tonight on behalf of Miles, I'd like to mention that we're actually reaching out to different We Buy Gold shops and pawn shops, or basically anyone that ends up with metal, whether scrap, jewelry, or anything else. Maybe someone in our audience is involved in that industry. If so, we'd love to talk with you, arcadia@milesfranklin.com. And love to just get to know you and learn more about that and see if there's anyone who can use some help there. In either case, leading up to the election, again, you see, let's call it 2420 in silver, over 1900 in gold, which is nice to see, especially for some of these mining stocks. First Majestic has earnings on the 5th, I believe, this Thursday. A lot of the miners going to start issuing earnings, and okay, I mean, I understand we're a little bit off the highs in gold at 20. Gee, did it get up all the way up to 2100? I mean, shot up so fast. Still below 2000. And actually, let's check now. Kind of curious. Let's see how was the peak. Well, actually, that's a nice little feature down there that I had not seen. Click to enlarge 30-day. Let's go back to the 6-month here. And I don't know if you're able to see that, but yeah, it looks like 2060-ish, let's call 2063 on their chart here. You can see that. So not quite up to 21 or 2200 yet. Although, as we'll get to, I mean, I get it. You need some patience, but I mean, there's every reason to believe. In fact, it's not that there's every reason to believe that it will get to 2200, but it's almost as if Fed and political policy is saying that no matter what happens, we are going to guarantee it gets there. with the current setup and the way that they'll respond. And fortunately, you're in the right place, because we'll tell you how it goes. Even before the election goes down, in the end, the thing's bankrupt. Now when you have something come through with all these Corona dollars, it's all printed, it's all digital money. I mean, it's been like that for a long time. It's like we're getting into an accelerated phase here. Although in either case, so I think that will continue, and as I'll get to a little bit later, for the same reasons that you saw things crumble in the end of 2018 when the Fed even attempted to raise interest rates to the whopping level of 2.5%, things started melting down, and now there's only more leverage, which means that you probably couldn't. The Fed even even if the Fed claimed that they weren't going to move interest rates to do anything for the next year, I think the markets would revolt. Let alone if the Fed said they were going to raise interest rates. I wonder if there's anyone willing to take the other side of Fed raising interest rates. But in either case, even at these levels with silver $24, gold 1900, I think it'll be interesting to see the earnings from a lot of these companies, these miners that come out. Quick look at our silver board. Big day for First Majestic there. See, they were up a bit more. Let me refresh this. Thought I saw them over $11 at one point. Let's see. It said 1060 there. And there's the spinning wheel. Come on. Well, in either case, once that pulls up, we'll take a look, because actually, yeah, there you go, 1110. So it was up almost 5%. And I mentioned that because I was thinking about putting an option trade on for First Majestic. I believe they have weeklies on there. Let's go over to Market Chameleon, the option trading platform I use that done a couple of these webinars. Okay, and there you see the expiring November 6th. So we'll click on that one, expiring in 3 days. So the thing is, I mean, again, maybe option trading, maybe the real key is not thinking, if I just known this and done that 10 minutes ago or a week ago. I mean, I guess if I'd put that trade on yesterday and you capture 50 cents, and you can look, I'm not sure why we're a little slow here today. I am traveling. Going to get a more settled home next week, but been traveling a lot. Nice to be here in Austin again. So we'll see if the option board pulls up. But basically what happens is that, let's say you wanted to buy the First Majestic 11 strike call, which is approximately at the money. And so, about a 50 delta call. So the price of it went up 25 cents. So if something's a 50 delta, that means it's going to move 50% for every dollar move, or half. So basically, if you had bought some call options yesterday, it would have gone quite well. And we'll see how it looks with the earnings again. What we can see here is the expirations. There's this Friday, the next Friday. They do them pretty much weekly out. I guess you can get weeklies all the way to regular December expiration there. And then eventually they'll fill in these gaps as you get a little bit closer there. But first of all, I mean, with the options, I guess it's going to be a little bit tricky until, I mean, you had a big move back in a couple months ago. So when the thing moves $10, or I guess it really did move $10 in the matter of a couple of weeks. If you have almost anything on when that happens or similar, which part of why I talk about this so often is that I did fortunately, maybe unfortunately, I did have following when Bernanke launched QE2 in October of 2010. I bought a bunch of silver. That was when I got the 1,000-ounce block, had a bunch of GLD and SLB options. So, you had the move. It was very quick and much larger than anybody was really pricing in. So if you hit that, that is when you can get some of the really great outcomes. So I don't know if First Majestic is dollar or two higher by the time earnings are released and you have some of these on. Again, what's always made it a little bit tricky is that whether the price of silver drops $2 randomly later on election night kind of skews things. And that's why really I just try and pick and choose spots. And I mean, more and more I'm getting away from, I'm allocating less to options and just saying, gee, I'm fortunate to have the ability to talk to the guys running a lot of these companies and the shares that I like, just sitting there and not really caring what the price is, but when I receive income, just buying the shares and leaving them there because I feel comfortable with the people running those companies. And that way, allows me to take a lot of the time or the urgency out of these things and just be a bit more relaxed about it, which I think is important. So anyway, again, not licensed trading advice. I'm just as a former option trader. Now, keep in mind, I was more so a market maker. So when I made that bet was really my first big, stepping out fundamental trade, which again was good for a while, then got hammered on, and we'll see how it shakes out in the end. I think it's a story not yet complete. Anyway, I thought it'd be interesting to take a look over here at the news. What are they talking about on CNBC? The Monday rally. World is watching the election. Here's what it thinks. Although Kramer says stocks will dip no matter who wins the election, you have to buy. And I mean, actually, I sent Kranzler an email today saying that I wonder if we'll ever really see the stock market crash in nominal terms. There was a video about that. He thinks we will. I'm less a believer of that, but U.S. election matters and will shape the international landscape. I don't know. I mean, I guess for some people, and just when you look at some of the things that we'll cover in a couple minutes, I don't really know how much in the grander scheme. I mean, the world is moving away from the dollar. The U.S. dollar and the U.S. government are bankrupt entities. Here, let's see, what are they saying on Wall Street Journal? Cast final votes on tense campaign, Biden, climax, Democrats keep control of that. So I still have yet to hear anyone in any of these sites or any of the debates or any of the candidates explain. And again, I'm not qualified to comment on their, foreign policy. I don't know. Maybe I am or not. But I mean, most of the other stuff, I mean, I'm a former trader who researches silver, so just have some questions about some of the things I've heard or read, but I'll leave that aside. And just to the degree that strictly from the financials and where the whole theme was, it's like if you watch and think that either one of these guys, none of them are going to address this number that's skyrocketing. None of them have said anything about the Fed monetizing debt and all these questions that, in fact, we have someone else will even step in and answer in a moment, because I found this great clip of, what's his first name? Nassim Taleb, the Black Swan author. So we'll get back to that. Getting a little lost in my windows up here. One thing I did see when I scrolled down here was looking to see any coverage of that anywhere. I did notice Argentina's president struggles to avert economic crash. And I was curious, when you look through here, all right, if an economic crash, what are the symptoms associated with that? Painful economic recession, growing crisis, erratic policies, fuel deepening currency crisis, full-blown financial crisis, corona. So again, you see a lot of these same things. Debt is piled on, money is printed. Government says its economic policy has aimed to ensure long-term financial stability. But when the real response to all these things, whether in Argentina or in the US is just to debase the currency. That's why people are turning to metals. That's why people are buying gold and silver. And to the degree that, you know, at least economically and what really matters, even in the political system. I mean, if you don't feel comfortable with Trump or Biden economically, and again, I'm not trying to be overly critical of either of them, but if you don't think they're ever going to address this or this, that is where I continue to see silver as the response. So speaking of Argentina, it's interesting because I mentioned Silver Sands before, one of our sponsors. I may be actually going down there. So just something I've always wanted to do, especially since I've been studying currencies, and Argentina, their currency obviously has had trouble at various points in time. So we will see. I think this is going to happen in the next couple of months. Would be incredible to not only see their silver project, but also see what life is actually like in Argentina. I hear it's quite beautiful. Here a quick note on Bolivia, which was interesting. This is from the London Paul, who does the Sirius Report. We start today's double podcast discussing Bolivia and how it has managed to overcome a US-backed coup in 2019 and is on course again to get its economy back on track, even though Washington may try another coup attempt in months. Again, this is, you know, I don't know if I always achieve this, but I'm not trying to be a smartass with my skepticism on government, but you've heard Paul on the show before, and it's always a little sad to me to hear these things that, I mean, I do believe his research. I'll listen to the podcast. I'm guessing he's not making this up. But speaking of Bolivia, part of my trip to South America, I believe we will be seeing Silver Elephant going down with John Lee and David Morgan. So we'll hopefully have more details of that soon, but appears as if that is all going to occur. And here was an interesting one. Let me get the sound queued up on this. This is actually a couple years old, listening to it today, and some of the, it's just interesting. Nassim Taleb wrote The Black Swan. Interesting book, not my favorite one. Although some interesting points, and it was just hear him talking about Bernanke. It was just worth checking out a little bit, so I will play a couple seconds here.
And we love it when you come in. Tell me, what is your beef with Bernanke?
It seems to me, from what I see, that these people do not understand risk.
Okay, I mean, but you need to explain, because people would look at Ben Bernanke, right?
Yes.
A long career at Princeton.
Yes.
Nobody would count him out as an intellect, an expert on the Depression. How is it that Ben...
Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, I'm trying to be mean, but I would dispute his, actually, I would love to have a debate on the Great Depression with Ben Bernanke. Especially after reading, I believe it was a Rothbard book on the topic, but especially with a country based on a currency tied to a gold standard, and no one's going to dispute the man's credentials when he says...
But let me just end by saying that nobody really understands gold prices, and I don't pretend to really understand them either.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
And there is a reason gold prices are going up. There's a reason that these candidates are talking about a lot of other stuff except for the finances, yet they do want another stimulus bill, which is going to be paid for with more printed money. And as Taleb points out here, they talked about all the great parts, but they never talked about what happens when you try and undo it. Let's continue on for a short bit more.
Bernanke doesn't understand risk.
Well, two things. The first thing is, did he see the crisis? Did he see the accumulation of hidden risk in the system? No. So, and he was flying the plane. He crashed the plane because he didn't know about hurricanes or things that can cause turmoil. So visibly, he underestimated risk. He's sort of risk.
just to see, I don't know, is he just saying this? Is he making that up? Let's take a little snippet here of July 2000.
Ben, there's been a lot of talk about a housing bubble, particularly, from the Fed, from all sorts of different places. Can you give us your view as to whether or not there is a housing bubble out there?
Well, unquestionably, housing prices are up quite a bit. I think it's important to note that fundamentals are also very strong. We've got a growing economy, jobs, incomes. We've got very low mortgage rates. We've got demographics supporting housing growth. We've got restricted supply in some places. So it's certainly understandable that the prices would go up some. I don't know whether prices are exactly where they should be, but I think it's fair to say that much of what's happened is supported by the strength of the economy.
Tell me.
Well, again, there was the guy leading the show. Sounds like the same guy's leading the show now. And I don't think that either candidate, whoever's brought in, is going to address that. So if in the end, if there's any part of the system you don't like, that's why I turn to silver. Am I biased? Absolutely. I wrote the big silver short, although here at least explains why through interview style format with 15 of the world's silver experts, including the interview with Bart Chilton, where he confirmed from the regulator standpoint a lot of with what has now been documented with the Department of Justice, $920 million fine on JP Morgan. A lot of what has happened in the book started to play out. A lot of it, not yet. I think we're still in the early innings. So again, I will mention that this video is sponsored by Miles Franklin. And if you'd like to hear what Andy Schectman had to say about what's going on the physical level of these silver and gold markets, well, that video is coming your way now.